Welcome to part two of Power Balance. I hope you remember our concept cup and öl, and today we will continue to discuss what is it. First, I would like to discuss about the possible gap that it can create when working with Koreans and keeping in mind that they have this kind of concept. So we have a very complex situation to understand. Cup and öl, it's not a very straightforward concept. It's not just hierarchy, but it actually includes a lot of details and a lot of information that we have to consider. We have to consider what the other side think, knows, what they might be predicting. We have to consider all our situations. So it's very complex and includes within it a lot of information. Also, it has some different views with the same situations, and I would like to explain this with an example. Let's say we have two companies who are negotiating. If one company has more information and they know a little bit more details, and maybe they have done a similar thing before, the company might establish itself as cup, as the stronger side, and might demand more or might take less or more risk, depends on their will. On the other hand, we have company B that doesn't know the same information. Let's say they know less information. However, they might still think that they are the stronger side. And in this kind of interaction, when both sides think that they are the stronger side, we will see a lot of difficult negotiations. We will see it will take more time, and negotiations might even explode. So when we're talking about different views in the same situation, it is because cup öl is not an objective concept. It is always in the eyes of the beholder, and that's why it's very elusive and very difficult to determine as well. Another possible gap that maybe is more related to non-Koreans is this concept is opposite from two sides are equal. So this kind of concept says that always, in any given time, in any given situation, and in any given relationship, there will be someone that is stronger and someone that is weaker. It doesn't mean that the side will actually abuse it or not. It just means that in any kind of situation, there will be someone who is stronger and someone who is weaker. So, what can we focus on to try to make sense to this concept? First, this kind of concept provides an order within hierarchical framework. As we mentioned, especially in the business environment, Korea is very hierarchical. And this kind of concept, kapul, is making sense within the hierarchy. So as I mentioned before, just because I'm the manager, it doesn't mean that I necessarily have more power over an employee than I have. And if we're taking in more details, let's say I'm a manager but my employee is the son of the CEO. In that case, the son of the CEO will actually have more invisible power over me. So it's not necessarily the hierarchy. In the hierarchy, as a manager, I'm actually higher up. But this employee, let's say, is the son of the CEO, at that time, the invisible power, the power that the employee has over me, is actually bigger than I have over this employee. And this is how it makes sense, and this is how it's working within hierarchical framework. Also, it brings more focus on details and information. So throughout this course, we were discussing about the importance of relationship and building relationship, and how do we build relationship? By knowing more about each other. As we know more about your personal life, your character, maybe your other interactions, as we know more information that is not necessarily related to work or performance or your business status, this is how we can determine with each other about our different relationship. So let's go back to the example of two companies negotiating. As long as each company will know more about each other, let's say not only their financial performance and their industry and competitors and suppliers, but maybe also about their employees. Who's their CEO? What does he like? Where does he go? Maybe even his hobbies. This doesn't have to be only the CEO, but actually the people that we're working with. So the decision makers. Who are the decision makers? And a little bit more about their personal lives. As long as we have more and more information, we can determine better our status And also, as we have more information, we might become stronger or weaker, depend on the results of the information. Another thing that we can focus is that it's not necessary in close relationships. When we're talking about friends, or I mentioned before, even couples. So when we're talking about those kind of close relationship, it is not necessary to determine who is more powerful and who is more weaker. Also, it's not really necessary to determine it when we are non-Koreans or non-Koreans working with Koreans. It is definitely less effective. But a word of advice for me, if you are working with Koreans, they probably already analyze it and determine it automatically, even if you're non-Korean. So those are a few things to focus on when we're thinking about Kap and Ul. And this is all for today. And next part, we will go even deeper and see how it can affect our working environment.